Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to day 2 of the Pentaward Festival Spring Edition. My name is Adam Ryan. I am head of Pentaward and I am your host for today's proceedings. Today is open to everybody from the global creative design and packaging community. We have an amazing lineup of speakers today. Everything is free to access from across the world, so please tell your colleagues there is still time to register and to join the conversation. I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors, UPM Raffle Attack, TAPI, ADF, PCD and PLD, Packaging Premier, OI, Reflex and the European Brand and Packaging Design Association. Before I kick off my first session today, I want to just welcome everybody back, and I hope you have a fantastic day and enjoy this and it gives you the boost that you need. Our first speaker today is Jamie Ellul, who is the creative director at Supple Studio. Jamie has over 20 years experience working across many different design agencies. He actually moved to a beautiful place in the UK called Bath in 2013, where he started Supple Studio. He works with clients such as Channel 4, Royal Mail, Childline and the University of Arts London, which I actually attended, Jamie. Two fun facts about Jamie. He is in a band slash cult slash gang called the Supercolours, and today is actually his daughter's birthday. So what a day to do this for us. I appreciate it. You can ask Jamie some questions. You can type them in the box below and we'll wait until the end to ask those. You can post on social media using @Pentaward or the hashtag Pentaward Spring Festival. So without further ado, it's over to Jamie to kick off day 2. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Right, we tested this before, so check it still works. Lovely, thanks for the intro there, Adam. So yeah, I've called my talk "Small Teams Mean Big Ideas," and having worked at lots of different sizes of agency all around London in my career, I've kind of picked up the sort of best bits and left behind the worst bits of those experiences. And when setting up Supple, which is my second studio I've set up now, so previous to this, I was one of the founders of Magpie Studio, slightly bigger setup than we are now here. And I'm a big believer in the size of team kind of being important, and that small teams can really kind of smash out big ideas and do, punch above their weight. So the size of the idea isn't to do with the size of the person. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Supple and then talk about my experience of building teams and what I think makes a good team, essentially. So we started in 2013. As Adam said, I relocated from London to Bath, and part of that was to do with kids, really. As Adam said, I've got 2 kids. One of them's 9 today, the other one's 11. And so 8 years ago, we decided to leave London, have a change of scene, bring the kids up down here, and just realise that actually you don't need to be in the city centre anymore to do good work, and that the ways of working have been changing, and obviously even more so since coronavirus. And we work with clients in Australia and we've never met them, and it just meant that I could just relocate, be somewhere that's better for my family, better for my mental health too, buy a bigger house, all those kind of things. And so we made quite a brave move, I guess, and I left an agency that was doing really well. But it felt like the right thing to do. And so, it's been interesting starting a new team from scratch again and sort of learning from doing it a different way before. Previously, Magpie was 3 partners that set up that agency, whereas now it's just me as the founder, and then I've got a wider team, which I'll talk about in a bit. So this is the team. There's 5 of us full-time, plus Sam, who's a sort of permalance freelancer that shares a studio with us, does some of his own work and sort of ducks and dives in and out of stuff with us too. And we're essentially, it's quite a flat hierarchy here, but on paper, we've got Phil and Bex, who are design directors, also married and a partnership in their own right. And then myself as creative director, and then Yi and Sherry, who are both designers. And I've kind of got this thing that I want to make sure that we can always fit around one table. I don't want it to be like me locked away in a room and everyone else kind of on the shop floor. I want it to be us all together around a table doing the work together, which obviously, you know, coronavirus has challenged that system. But, you know, we're still kind of hopefully maintaining that kind of approach, but through digital technology. And yeah, we've won a few awards over the years, including some Pent Awards. And this is actually our previous studio, so I haven't got much photography of the new place because sadly we moved during lockdown last year. We've only probably had about a month or two where we have all been around that table. But this is where we are now. This is where I'm kind of speaking to you from at the moment. So yeah, much different kind of studio, really sort of big and open plan, really lovely space to work in. And yeah, can't wait to get everyone back in the room together. Hopefully in the next couple of months, we're all getting vaccinated up and we'll be back to it. A couple of years ago, we were crowned number 16 in the top 30 agencies, voted for by our peers, which, you know, feels like a really big achievement, particularly, I guess, doing it from what you call not a design capital. I guess, you know, Bath probably isn't known as, although there's, you know, fantastic designers here and more coming, it seems, on a monthly basis. Yeah, it's really nice to get that recognition and sort of do it on our own terms and do it from somewhere that we love working. And these are some of the clients that we work with. So a real mix, you know, from sort of household names to sort of startups and companies maybe you haven't heard of. And over the last sort of 2 to 3 years, we've had a bit of a kind of natural attraction, I guess, to not-for-profits. So we're working with some really big charities and some small ones and some climate action groups and things like that. And that's really become a big part of what we do. You know, I'm very keen for us to do good design that does good to the planet and good to society. But yeah, you know, we're not known as a packaging agency. We do packaging. It's not what we do day in and day out, but when we do it, we love it. And I'll talk a bit about some packaging projects towards the end. But what we just love is the challenge of just working in all different sectors, all different types of design. But most of them are kind of from a brand point of view, whether that's a branded campaign or a rebrand or a new brand from scratch. And we work in all these different sectors. Again, a bit of a leaning towards arts and culture and not for profit, but you know, we're not kind of wedded to any one particular sector, and that's what kind of keeps it spicy and gets me out of bed in the morning. And we do all these things. So, you know, right from the strategy through to the kind of print work and things like that. And I've got a bit of a schooling in good old fashioned print, and I still love print when it's appropriate, which is why packaging in particular is a lovely thing to work on. So yeah, a bit about our philosophy. When I first set up Supple, I went on holiday before kind of setting up, and I bought this book called Shoe Dog, which is by Phil Knight, who set up Nike. And this was just one of the many amazing quotes and stories in there. But this was something that really resonated with me of kind of, you know, if you're going to put together a team of great people, then you need to sort of get out of the way. You know, you need to trust them to do what they do. And that's where you get surprising, interesting work. So yeah, as I've said, I've made a conscious decision to stay small. You know, having worked in bigger agencies like the partners and things like that, you sort of realize that even though there's maybe 50 people there, that actually they're all divided into teams of 5 to 6 people, and that, you know, huge projects can come out of those teams as well as kind of small ones, and you know, all that kind of flex and stuff that happens in those kind of small teams. And yeah, it's kind of a good size. I think 5 to 6 people, not unwieldy. You can sort of enough clout to sort of smash out things when you need to, and also just to be kind of flexible, which is very key to the way we work. And it also means you don't have to feed the beast. So I never want us to be in a position where we're just taking on work just to, you know, basically increase our margins and to pay everyone. You know, by being small, we can be quite kind of choosy about the work that we do and make sure that there's a good fit with the clients that we work with. So that doesn't mean that I don't want us to grow, but I want us to grow as a team. without kind of growing in physical size. So getting better at what we do and growing as people and growing in experience without ever kind of getting beyond that table size. You know, for me, if we ever got beyond 8 people and we couldn't fit around this one table, then, you know, I'm doing something wrong. And yeah, and I really believe that creativity is a team sport. You know, a little illustration of that. But yeah, I feel like I've sort of purposefully put together a team where we're all good at different things, and we're all different kind of people as well. I think if we're all the same type of person, then I think you end up with clashes. So it's important for me that we're all, you know, we're all of the same mind in the terms of the kind of work that we want to do, but we've got different ways of doing it and different skill sets. So some of us are better illustrators than others, some animators. You know, Phil that works for me, he's got a big packaging background, having come from Turn It Upwards, so he's got a lot to bring to the table when we have packaging projects come in. And so, yeah, everyone's got slightly different skill sets, and that kind of means we can blend really well together and kind of cover off lots of different ground. And I think also, yeah, just kind of making sure that it's not about one person, you know, and I never wanted the agency to just be about me. And I had a year on leaving Magpie where I'd set up Supple and a sort of year of working on my own. And as much as I love that in terms of sort of getting back on the tools and learning to be a designer again, I kind of felt pretty lonely, and I felt like, you know, I could do better work bouncing off other people. So yeah, so we're all designers here. There's no project managers. And again, that's been quite purposeful. And I have worked with project managers, and they can be fantastic. And I've worked with some really good ones. But I've also worked at agencies like Patrick Design, where I started my career, where there weren't any project managers. And we, as designers, were the project managers kind of rolled in. And so I think we did better work. I think the clients got service in a more kind of holistic way. You know, there was nothing was lost in translation, and that's really important to us. So our clients always work with the designers and me and have like direct contact. And we're all these different things. You know, we do loads and loads of different stuff here. And that's how we kind of like it. You know, it's nice to wear all these different hats. Yes, I was wearing hats. And then, you know, when we can't do something, you know, we're not amazing at all those things. We're good at some of them, better at others. If there's something that's sort of out of our skill set, then we'll collaborate. And we always make sure we try to collaborate with the best of the best. And over the last sort of 20 years of working in design, I've managed to build up a really good black book of partnerships. And yeah, we work with some fantastic writers and illustrators and animators and photographers that also make our work better. And I've got a no ego policy. So, you know, I don't want to work with talented assholes all day. So talent is obviously part of it, but you know, that team effort, it's got to be a kind of no ego kind of situation here. And so that means that we don't care where the idea comes from. It can come from the most junior person in the room or the most senior or the placement, whoever, that doesn't matter. It's just about the best idea on the table going forward, not about whose idea that is. And that's really important to me. Same kind of thing, you know, no dickheads. I don't want to work with kind of prima donnas and people that make the day terrible. You know, if you're going to spend 8 to 10 hours a day with people, particularly in the sort of intimate one table kind of scenario that we have, then you really want to work with people that you really love and love to work with. And also no superstars. And again, this is a team thing, but I was listening to a podcast the other day, and Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead was talking about why the band sort of still continues to work and why he still really enjoys it. And he was sort of talking about bands basically, and how bands, you know, they can't, on paper, they might not be the best musicians. And he was like, you know, I could sit in my bedroom and just play on my own for 10 years and become an amazing jazz fusion guitarist or something, but no one would want to listen to that, and it would be terrible, bad taste kind of music. Whereas, you know, he's all about what happens, that special thing that happens when those 5 people are in a room together and they start making music. And, you know, it's about kind of getting better as a band rather than better as individual musicians. And that's kind of, that analogy kind of really fits the way that I want us to work as well. You know, it's kind of not about creating superstars, it's about creating a team. And yeah, this is something that I think we got right even back in the Magpie days, actually, was that we always hired on a 50-50 basis. So it's 50% talent, 50% personality. Going back to the sort of no ego, no dickheads approach, you just want to work with nice people. You know, I every Sunday I don't dread going to work. I'm actually thinking, oh yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing my mates at work. You know, as much as they're on paper, I am their employer and they're my employees. You know, I feel like we've got a nice kind of family dynamic here, and there's a lot of trust and friendship within the team, which is really important to me. And then in terms of those people that I hire, I like to hire people that are interested in other things. So, you know, I think yeah, interested people are interesting people. So people that have interest beyond just design, whether they're into music or cars or anything, you know, it can be anything. It doesn't have to be a creative pursuit even. I just think people like that tend to bring new thinking and different ways of doing things to the table. And, you know, people that have had different careers even, you know, I've worked with designers that weren't designers before they were designers, and they always have a different kind of way of doing things, which brings a new ideas to the table, which is really important. And so, yeah, I think those interesting people make better designers. The other thing is, you know, again, with the no dickheads policy of people that we employ, we want to have a sort of no toxic clients policy too. This one's much harder to do, and you can't always predict the way that a client relationship will go. But I think I'm getting better at sniffing out those clients at the early stages and those sort of chemistry meetings. And, you know, like a couple of weeks ago, we said goodbye to a client in a very polite way, but it was just, you know, she was bringing everyone down every time we worked with her. It wasn't a nourishing relationship. And this sort of way of doing things I picked up from Milton Glaser. I went to a talk by him, a D&AD keynote thing that he did probably in 2002 now. And he didn't put up any work, he just put up these 10 kind of things that were his manifesto, and one of them was not to work with toxic clients. Obviously, if you're Milton Glaser, you can pick and choose who you work with, and it's not like that for everybody. But you know, I think part of the reason for staying small is that we can pick and choose a little bit more and trust our gut a bit when it comes to those clients. And, you know, sacking that client was not a nice thing, and, you know, you're like, well, we're losing all that income, but actually within like 3 days a new project came our way, which was much more interesting, and you know, filled that gap. And, you know, it feels like when you trust your gut and go with it, it usually pays off. So yeah, it's all about kind of seeing eye to eye with our clients and having that kind of chemistry. And then, yeah, I kind of talked about this a bit with the client list and the kind of not-for-profits and climate action groups that we're starting to work with a lot more. But this is really important to me. And, you know, we probably financially couldn't function just working with not-for-profits and charities and things, because obviously we offer them a discount on what we do. But I think a blend of that and just trying to generally work with clients that care about the planet and, you know, are thinking about society and things like that. And, you know, I think we have a duty as designers in this day and age to sort of use design where we can to do some good to our planet and to the social impact. That doesn't mean we're kind of totally tree huggers, you know, we're not a bunch of hippies, we're still running a business. But and the other thing is no bullshit, no jargon. You know, we don't blind our clients with the sort of science of design and use sort of flowery language or anything. You know, it's all about ideas that are just, you know, almost blindingly obvious sometimes, and we're not trying to pull the wool over their eyes or kind of, you know, make it look like some kind of magic show. It's about very much being straight with them and transparent and talking through the ideas, and it's all about simplicity for us. You know, it's about making things as simple as possible, and I think that means simple language as well. And we never do work just for the dollars. You know, I've done that in the past, You know, I've sort of been burnt by that, by sort of seeing a big budget, but feeling like maybe the project isn't for us and doing it, and it's just, yeah, it's not an enjoyable process for anyone. Yeah, so we never ever do it just for the money. And sometimes, you know, there'll be an interesting project, like there's one that I'm going to show you here actually for a jacket company that we love working with, and it's never about the money for us. It's just about doing something that's really interesting. The other thing, and this sort of comes from, you know, I was schooled at the Somerset College, which the course was run by someone who set up the Partners in the 80s, very much a sort of smile in the mind kind of approach to design. And it's always about idea first and style second. And I think that's kind of stayed with me ever since, and, you know, very much something that we did at Magpie as well. And I think, yeah, ideas are kind of timeless, really. Ideas will stick around. You know, you can pick up D&AD annuals and probably Pensawards annuals from years ago, where maybe the styling is like, oh, that looks a little bit kind of that moment. But if there's a solid idea behind it, it will still kind of grab you, and it will still engage you. So yeah, we always kind of start with that. And sometimes the idea is the start, but, you know, it's always where we start. We always start with a scribble. And we always do our homework. You know, we're very, very kind of diligent, I think, in getting to know our clients, getting to know their sectors, really understanding what they're all about. So yeah, we do a lot of digging. Cool. So I'm just going to run you through 3 projects, packaging projects that we've worked on, and just sort of talk a bit about the process and how we worked as a team on them. So this one's for Coco Jones. It's a family-run artisan chocolate maker in London, and they've got a really interesting backstory, which was kind of, again, you know, it wasn't a really big budget project for us, but we really wanted to work with them. They were a really nice couple, and they were really sort of passionate about what they do. So I won't take you through all the strategy and things that we did, and the sort of, you know, we did a lot of competitor analysis, but we landed on this kind of positioning that they liked, which was Culture Clash Chocolatiers, and it's all based around their kind of background. So one of them is African, and the other is Asian, and they've got kind of they've both converted to Islam, so there's kind of like a Islamic kind of theme running through what they do. But they also just very kind of free with the way that they create their flavors and their chocolates. They're very kind of experimental, and they try all sorts of things. There's a real kind of fusion going on, and it just, yeah, it was kind of a gift of a brief, really. And they're just real characters. You know, they came in wearing quite kind of traditional garb, and yeah, they were just sort of larger than life characters. So this is just sort of the way that we work, and this isn't actually the board for this project. It's for another one. I couldn't find the board for this one, but we work in a very sort of messy, kind of whiteboardy way. At the moment, obviously, we're not in the same room, so we do this digitally through Miro board. But I'm really keen that we always work with post-it notes. It's kind of a really good way of, it's a small canvas, so it makes the designers and me and all of us kind of focus down and really distill our ideas. And it's a really interesting way to work. It also doesn't take up much space, so you can get tons of ideas on a wall. But yeah, we kind of do this, and then we crit the ideas, and then we pin more references up and print things out as they go along. And, you know, it's all quite messy, and that's the way we like it. It's almost like an art college kind of vibe when we do this stuff, which I love. So here's the 3 concepts that we showed for Coco Jones. The first of which was Cocoa Addicts. So Coco Jones, the name which they came to us with, the Jones bit is a old school kind of Victorian slang for addiction. So it's kind of Cocoa Addicts is the kind of thing. And so yeah, so we sort of had this idea of it becoming sort of like a trippy melding of flavors and things, so it becomes quite kind of hippie-ish, quite kind of 60s. And yeah, this is that route, so really kind of quite psychedelic in a way. And then we've got this kind of swirly CJ mark. And then the second route was around this culture clash thing. So very much, you know, this was an idea that Phil and I had almost straight away when we first met them, and they came into the studio and they were wearing those traditional African and Pakistani clothes and amazing patterns and things. And we're like, oh, there's got to be something in those two cultures coming together. So that's where this landed, and where we sort of came to this idea. We're using those sort of found patterns that you find on fabrics, which are really just beautiful, and then, you know, sort of thinking about how those could reflect the flavors and the ingredients. So that was route 2, and we sort of, you know, they weren't ready for a shop yet, but, you know, we always like to sort of show the client how far the idea can be pushed and how it's going to work beyond just the pack. And then the third route was around henna, again, sort of building up on this kind of Indian heritage, and henna obviously being brown and sort of looking almost like piped chocolate. And so we created these henna patterns. And then this is where it landed. So they actually really loved the CJ mark from that first route, but they loved the sort of clash of the two patterns that came into that. And so we don't often do this, and it doesn't always work, but we did feel like it could work here. So we sort of fused the two ideas, and this is where it landed. So really kind of eclectic range, really eclectic flavors. And we spent a lot of time finding the fabrics and finding patterns and things that felt like they reflected the product and felt like they reflected the flavor cues that were in there. And we worked with them and a fantastic photographer called Hugh Johnson that did the pack shots and the styling and stuff. So it's really, really fun project, and just a really kind of singular idea that sort of runs through the packaging, and also works on things, yeah, like their kind of their uniforms and their business cards, where we sort of have this kind of split thing. It's really cute. So yeah, so that's Coco Jones, and yeah, and then obviously all the photography that we created, they used that for their Instagram and their socials, and yeah, it's been really successful for them. This is a really different project. So this is a much more local one. This is for You Biety, which is a product that's been set up by Dorothy House Hospice Care, with cancer charity here in Bath. And they came to us and asked us if we could create some packaging for a new range of natural wellbeing products. And the interesting thing is all the profits go back to them. But they didn't want that to be sort of overt. You know, they didn't want it to be a sort of thing that people purchase out of almost like a guilt. They wanted that to be a very much sort of secondary thing. So yeah, we obviously said yes. The name You Biety is all about kind of being grounded, and so we sort of had a concept that was based around that, and all about kind of being in the moment. And this route 1 was around the kind of layers of soil and things that you get in ground, and then kind of taking those layers and those, again, sort of reflecting the products and the natural things that go into those products. So the clementine, I had like a kind of clementine, kind of almost like the peel of a clementine in the patterns, and the birch water, you know, and the spearmint, just kind of graphically bringing those to life. And then route 2 was about taking away the stresses of life, and you know, these products have been formulated in a way that, from a sort of aromatherapy point of view, by smelling them, they sort of relax you and sort of focus you and things like that. So this was very much more kind of arty kind of approach, but this kind of almost anti-gravity kind of feeling of everything floating off the pack. And again, the shapes sort of reflecting some of the flavors and the ingredients in there. And then route 3, which was the one that they went for, was all about a kind of, again, picking up on the aromatherapy aspect of it, about it kind of just creating a little moment of headspace within your day. So like a moment of clarity within all the madness and the hecticness of the day. So yeah, it just creates this kind of little moment in the middle of these hectic patterns. And at this stage, you know, we just illustrated these ourselves and used found things and whatnot. And then this is where it kind of landed. So we worked with an illustrator, award-winning illustrator called Rebecca Sutherland, and she worked really hard. Actually, we sent her all the products, and we did lots and lots and lots of experimentation around this, and she created lots of different patterns that, you know, almost like a sort of reaction to the smells and the flavors within these products. And this was the core range that we launched with a couple of years ago, and then we've got an ongoing relationship with these guys where they're always kind of trying out new things. So they've created a scent range, like a home scent range now, and candles and things that we've again worked on the brand. And it's just nice that, you know, it's a really flexible idea. We can just keep creating these patterns sort of almost endlessly. It's been a really interesting project for us, and it's something that got into the Pence Awards, and it's won a few other awards along the way. And it's done really well for them, which is really, again, it's this kind of doing good design doing good thing that's really important to me. You know, it's kind of a win for us because we get to do a lovely packaging project, and a win for them because they sell more product and make more money for the charity. So it's a really lovely thing. And obviously we're not just packaging designers, so we think about these things very much from a brand point of view, and we created a Shopify website for them as well. And the fact that we've got a lot of these kind of skills under the same roof just means that, you know, we can really stretch their budget and do a lot more than an agency that maybe didn't have all those skills in one place. And then lastly, this project is for Farm Jackets. And they're a really interesting jacket maker based in Bath. And Nick, who started the brand, used to run a big cycling brand called Volpine. And it was doing really well. And then he had some issues, and basically the company went bust kind of almost overnight. And he'd invested so much of himself in it that he had a mental breakdown and was, you know, pretty much suicidal. And he managed to get himself out of that rut and decided to set up Farm Jackets to do it sort of very differently. So it's very much a kind of online only brand. It's all on a pre-order, so they only make the number of jackets that people have pre-ordered. So for him, it's very low risk. But then he's also very open, and he blogs a lot and creates a lot of video content where he talks about his mental health, and he feels that men don't talk about their mental health enough. And so although he's kind of just selling jackets, he's also hopefully sort of educating people about their mental health and getting them to open up about it. And so every jacket that he sells, there's £10 that goes to Mind, the charity, which is a really interesting thing. So again, it's kind of doing good, but in a very sort of secondary way. So here's some of the jackets. They're really beautiful, really expensive. And I actually met Nick through buying a couple of his jackets, and he very kindly hand delivered a couple of them to the studio, and obviously saw that we were a design agency, and we got chatting, and he ended up coming to us. I think he wanted someone that really got the brand to design the packaging. And yeah, we got paid in jackets. So Phil and I that worked on this, I'm still owed a couple. So quite a nice way to work. So yeah, the brief was to create eco-friendly packaging that fits their mantra, and their mantra is tough, beautiful. So life is tough, life is beautiful. Sort of picking up on his kind of mental health issues in the past, and they really wanted to add a bit of theatre to the way that you receive a jacket. So in the past, they just sort of sent them out in plain brown boxes, and there wasn't really any kind of drama to the whole thing, and they wanted to get a buzz, get people talking. So we worked in isolation on this, Phil and I. Phil was working from home at the time. This was back in November. But it was one of those ones where we both had the same idea, which is, I really love it when that happens. And yeah, there's a real nice moment where we got onto Zoom and we both had the same sketch in our notepads. And I was like, right, that's it. You know, it was just one of those moments where you just know that's the idea. So yeah, we just thought, you know, really simple idea. They're very much about the outdoors as a brand, and their clothing is very kind of like waterproof and storm resistant, all these things. And we're thinking about nature and what's tough and beautiful in nature, and a beetle is the perfect thing. And we had to create 3 different sizes of box for the 3 different sort of sizes of the garment that they send out. And so we just had this really simple idea that you just take 3 UK native beetles, 3 different sizes, you know, naturally getting smaller. And yeah, and we put those on the box. And so they're just it's a really simple idea, but it's sort of just quite odd, I think. And they're really beautiful things when you take a macro shot of a beetle and blow it up to a huge box. It's just like a really interesting looking thing. And then to pick up on the Mind charity thing, we had this little line on the box that just says "Open Up," and then it talks about £10 from the jacket purchase going to Mind. So it was just a really sort of secondary thing, and double meaning of "Open Up," obviously. And then we looked at the tissue paper and things. So everything sort of had this beetle theme, swing tags and the owner certificate and stuff like that. And then we also created a suite of icons that pick up on the farm logo. So really kind of simple. And it doesn't happen all the time, but this is one of those ones where we sort of presented it and he loved everything about it. There was nothing, literally didn't change a thing. So this is where it landed, so you're seeing the sort of concept map visuals and now you're seeing the real thing photographed. And this was, we had a tiny budget, which we decided we'd just get paid in jackets instead. And so because of that, we sort of did it very quickly. And it landed at a time when we had a bit of time in the studio, and we pretty much turned this round, start to finish, I think, in about 10 days, which is quite unusual. We quite often work on projects for months and months. But it was really nice to sort of smash this out really quickly. And it's still like crafting it as we normally would, but just, really like fun, interesting project. And everything, that we kind of visualized got made, which was really cool. Obviously slightly different box sizes and stuff like that, but it kind of ended up like this. Interestingly, on researching stag beetles, they only live in the southeast of England these days, so they're only around London, so they're the most cosmopolitan beetle. So there's little kind of stories on each box about the beetle on there. And then the Open Up thing, Nick said, I realised that we need some tape to seal the boxes, and then we sort of together came up with the thought of taking that Open Up line and sort of stepping and repeating it across the packaging tape. So it just becomes the thing that seals up the boxes. Almost my favourite part of the project, really, because it's just such a simple idea. And we did all the owner certificates, again, sort of bits of print, the tissue paper, and then here's the final icon set, which changed quite a bit actually from the first stage. And Nick wanted them to feel a bit more masculine and pick up on the angles and things on the jackets, which we sort of did. So they're very sort of cut, kind of chamfered angles and stuff. And then most importantly, it kind of works from that boss point of view. So this is an Instagram post from Well Dressed Dad, who's a mega blogger in the menswear fashion world, and now a farm fan. And for him to sort of post this and say this is like the coolest packaging he's ever seen is, great for farm, great for us. So it kind of did its job, which is awesome. And that's us. Thank you very much. I hope I didn't overrun. If you want to twit me, that's my Twitter. And any questions, fire away.
Thank you so much, Jamie. That was a superb presentation and very cool, calm and collected, I must say. We've got quite a few questions, but I know we're kind of running a bit over here. So I've got time for maybe one or two.
Cool.
The first one is, hi, Jamie, this is from Sam. I am a final year graphic design student and who's due to leave in June. What would you recommend in terms of getting his foot in the door, especially with COVID? Would you suggest internships or placements or any other ways of doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm hoping that, definitely for us, we're going to start opening up our internship thing from the summertime. We always try and get interns in from sort of May, June onwards into sort of September, October. Last year, because of COVID, we only managed to get one internship. We only had sort of 1 month really where we were all back in the room. It's going to be a bit harder, isn't it, at the moment? But I think actually, you were much better off graduating this year than last year. I think last year, I feel so sorry for all those people. And we actually we put a thing out on our socials to sort of help to give sort of portfolio reviews and things like that to anyone that needed them, which was really good, quite rewarding for us. It coincided us with us losing a lot of work, so we we had time on our hands, which was quite unusual. So we did a lot of portfolio reviews then, and I know a lot of other agencies did similar. But yeah, this is probably the best time now. I think things are picking up. Agencies I know are starting to move back into the studio from next month. So yeah, just send out some good, I always say send the greatest hits PDF, don't send everything. Send out 5 or 6 really strong bits of work. And then if you get an interview or a Zoom interview, whatever it might be, then you can show the portfolio in full then. I hate it when I get like the whole portfolio and then we do a review and they're just presenting me the whole portfolio I've already seen. It's kind of, I think just a little tease is good. And yeah, just, good work will stand out, good ideas will stand out. So
great advice. And I've got one more here. This is from Ian. And it's actually, saying congratulations to you. He said, where do you stand on awards? And this is an interesting question. Obviously, you have a lot and fair play, mate. But surely the return of investment what is the return of investment and the key driver? What do you see the benefit of entering?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's something I've sort of grappled with actually since sort of setting up Supple. In the past, when I started my career at Hat-Trick Design, their new business technique was to just enter a shitload of awards, and they won a shitload of awards, and it did work for them. Clients discovered them through those award schemes and things. And when we set up Magpie, we just did the same thing because that was all we knew. A couple of us had worked at Hat-Trick, and again, it worked for us. I think our first D&AD silver nomination got us Samsung as a client. We got Apple as a client through it. Return on investment was massive for us. Now I'm also at Supple, and I think also, that's like 12 years ago, and now the landscape's changed a bit. The fact that you can sort of bang something on social and it can get spread around, within minutes, has sort of changed the way that people look for agencies and stuff like that. And we get a lot more. We just started working with Scouts Association, and they found us through Instagram.
Oh wow!
But then there's we still get inbounds through award schemes. So we've had clients come through Transform, through D&AD, different ways. So it does return on investment from that point of view for us. I also feel, and I've always felt, that it's a good way of drawing new talent. And it gives us a bit of a profile in terms of culture. It's always quite nice to win an award and a pat on the back for the team. And, if there's a night out involved, then that's cool as well. I don't sort of take it too seriously these days. I mean, most of those that you can see in the background, the pencils at least, most of those are from the Magpie days where we did really sort of hit it hard. And I did have a year off awards completely last year. I'd sort of just decided to do it as a bit of an experiment, and also to use that budget to create a book of our work. So I'd sort of, we'd spent a fair bit on awards the year before, maybe didn't do as well as we had done in the past. And I just felt like, I'm just sort of chucking money, good money after bad kind of thing. And, by creating a book that we could use as a new business tool, it was like, here's X thousand that you would have spent on awards and maybe got something, whereas you're definitely going to get a book at the end of that. So, it was kind of no brainer. And I sort of thought, maybe we'll never enter awards again. But I judged D&AD last year, and it really totally changed my mindset on that, because it was just I'd never judged it before. It was so rigorous and so thorough and so fair and so fucking hard to get one. And I sort of saw why. And it's because everyone's sort of so passionate about it. And obviously there's always a certain amount of, it's a bit random. You get, 6 people in the room with the same work, and you change the 6 people and you get a different result. Obviously there's a certain amount of, a certain factor of the people in the room and their tastes and their approach to design. But in general, the good work will always sort of shine through. So yeah, we've sort of decided to sort of just be a lot more limited with what we enter. We're going to still enter D&AD because I think the money from that does good, goes back into the education thing. we're going into Pent Awards and a couple of the packaging ones because we want to do more packaging and we want to kind of get a bit more of a name for doing that stuff. And we're carrying on entering Transform Awards because it has always, year on year, we get work through it and it's a no-brainer. But other than that, that's it. We're kind of sticking to those sort of 3 or 4 things. And yeah, we had that year off of not entering awards and I didn't particularly miss it. But I do feel like it does work for us in terms of, you know, just, yeah, getting us seen by clients that maybe wouldn't have seen our work.
Great. Well, good. Well, good luck to all of the competitions you're entering this year. You are a year 1 Pentwoods jury member, and that's all to come. And I hope you enjoy the process, and you're going to see lots of incredible work. I want to thank you so much for your time today, and I'm sure you're going to be rushing off now to get some birthday cake with your family.
Yeah, I've got a shopping list.
Well, thank you so much. Just to let everybody know at home, this session will be available on demand over the next few days on our website. Up at 1:30, we have Tatiana Reifer from Carrefour, who'll be looking at how COVID is changing consumer behaviour and impacting brands. So have a great time, guys, and we'll see you very soon. Thanks again, Jamie. Take care.
Cheers. See ya.